Xin các anh chị ổn định chỗ ngồi và đừng nói chuyện trong lúc các quan khách lên trên sân khấu để mà phát biểu.
Ty and Diamond Dang, boat people, the volunteer country feet band, the beautiful women out here in the Ao Yais. There's a representation of the South Vietnamese military and all the other refugees that are helping put this on. Thank the American Vietnam veteran for coming to their country to fight against communism and to help keep a people free. The price American Vietnam veterans paid changed your life forever. The Vietnamese people realized that you didn't receive the welcome home that you should have. It never materialized. And they want to welcome you home. How many veterans feel like they let the Vietnamese down? That's not the way they think. The South Vietnamese military and the refugees realized it wasn't you. It was our gutless government that sent you to war, didn't let you do what you had to do, and pulled you out. I have a lot of friends and clients that were in the South Vietnamese military. They spent years in prison, and all they have is good words about the American Vietnam veteran fighting side by side with you. But we need to remember all those that gave their lives and honor and respect the truth about the Vietnam War, not necessarily the Ken Burns depiction of the Vietnam War, which was a travesty. When the communists came and took over, the Vietnamese people lost their country and lost their freedom. And the story of boat people began. You could stay in Vietnam and be killed. Or you could put your fate to the ocean. The unforgiving ocean, again, took 300,000 plus. Entire families were lost. The motto for the Vietnamese was, pay for freedom with your life. Here we are, American Vietnam veterans, South Vietnamese veterans, refugees. We're in the greatest country in the world, and we're free. The Vietnamese people appreciate being here, having the freedom, and being able to contribute to society. Science, health, engineering, literature, art. Their contributions to America make America even better for their being here. We're going to have 4 people speak, and I don't know. The first one, Dennis Phelps. Dennis Phelps, Specialist 5, was an Army engineer with the 103rd Engineer Unit, 69th Battalion. The mission was to clear virgin jungle, build fire support base camps, and work with them while building highways. Dennis served 1970-71. He is the current president of BVA 1024. And in 2016, BVA 1024 was the BVA of the Year for the state of California. Let's welcome Dennis Phelps.
Thank you, Bob. First thing I want to say is we won the 2016 Chapter of the Year Award because of Greg Gillespie. Greg was a very good friend of mine, and he was taken out by a drunk driver, and it was an unfortunate situation, but it's life. I was fortunate enough to live long enough for that to happen. I had friends that I was over there with that didn't live long enough to come back and see a landing coming back. But that's beside the point now. I joined into the BVA because it's an all-volunteer organization. All the money that we collect is spent to help other veterans. And our motto is that never again shall one generation of veterans be abandoned by another. And we work very hard to do what we can to help everybody we can. It doesn't matter if they're a Vietnam veteran or if they're an Afghan or Iraq or wherever, it doesn't matter. We're all veterans, we're all the same. We've all went, they called, we stepped up. I was an engineer over there, and it was hard work, but it was much easier than being a grunt or a boonie humper or somebody like that, because if you had to dig a foxhole, you just go get a loader. We'd build fire support base and then support the 101st, or not the 101st, the 1st Cav. 1st Cav and 11th Armored Cav, because they'd bring their guns in and set them down. And I can't tell you how many nights I woke up to beehive rounds going off through the jungle. And they'd level the guns down and just let them rip. And I had a lot of friends that didn't get to come home with us. They came home cold. But I don't know of anybody that I was there with that wasn't glad that they did it and that they would do it again. Because there's nothing greater than one man that can live and lay his life down for another. And if the time comes for that to happen again, I don't ever want to go through it again, but if somebody comes after this piece of real estate, I'll be first in line. And I just can't tell you how much it hurt me when I came home and we bailed. We bailed out on them. Because being an engineer, we didn't run all over the place. We spent time in one spot. We got to know the villagers. Where I was at was a place called New Eli. It was about 30 kilometers past Swan Lock. Swan Lock was the last battle before Saigon fell. And the villagers that we got to know that worked with us, we got really close. Got to love their families. We got to go into their hooches and see how they built little secret hiding places underneath their kitchen tables, if they had a table, and got to know the people. Got to know the people really well. They came and worked with us every day. And the part that was really heart-tearing is knowing that some of them that you worked with were going to be executed. That was hard to take. I have a special place in my heart for the Vietnamese people and all the veterans that were there, because when we came home, the physical war ended and the mental war started. And it's still going on for many, and it's going on very bad for some. But now there's a lot of people, a lot of veterans that are homeless, and it seems like everybody's just kind of turning around. As long as they don't have to look at them, they don't have to think about them. But we can't allow that to happen. We have to stand up and put everybody's feet to the fire and make them do something to contribute to the community of saving these people who have done so much already. And all I can say is, God bless all you boat people. God bless the Vietnamese. God bless the veterans, everyone. Because without God, we are nothing.
Thank you, Dennis. Spoken from the heart. Our next speaker, Frank Berry, was a linguist with the United States Air Force for 8 years, 1965 to 73. Languages included Indonesian, Vietnamese, and Hebrew. His tour of duty included Japan, Okinawa, Vietnam. On his second enlistment, Greece was added. Frank was an airborne voice processing specialist, listening into the communications of the North Vietnamese Air Force. I'll let him tell you about one of his missions, flying in the Gulf of Tonkin. Frank is currently chairman of the Economic Opportunities Committee for the Vietnam Veterans of America, which meets quarterly at the national headquarters in Silver Spring, Maryland. Please welcome Frank Berry.
I'm going to tell you a little secret. I joined the Air Force to avoid Vietnam. But I'm also going to tell you why I am so thankful that I ended up there. In 1965, I joined the Air Force to avoid the draft. And they found out in the Air Force that I had an aptitude for languages. And I can thank 6 years in the Catholic seminary for that, because I had 6 years of Latin, Veni, Vidi, Vici, you know, and 5 years of German. So off I went to the Defense Language Institute in Monterey for Indonesian. Well, why Indonesian? Because in 1966, there was a communist uprising in Indonesia. But President Sukarno eliminated them. So by the time I finished school, there's no need for Indonesian linguists. So I had a choice. Did I want to spend 3 years in Texas washing communication trucks, or volunteer for another language with a guaranteed assignment to Japan? And the language was Vietnamese. And of course we were skeptical. Yeah, we'll go to Japan, sure, Vietnamese linguist. Well, actually we did, but I want to tell you, I had a wonderful teacher. Her name was Ba Binh. She was from Hanoi. And there were 6 of us in the class in Washington. She fell in love with us right away. We were sort of wise guys. We just picked up the you know, the elements of the language, because most of what we learned was at NSA, and that was all military terminology. Now, if you put me in Ho Chi Minh City, I could not speak much, but I could sure tell you about takeoff and landings at Hanoi Zalam Airport. So I ended up in Japan, and then when the war escalated, they sent us to Okinawa, a new unit, with TDYs, temporary duty to Da Nang. So I was in Da Nang during that fateful Tet offensive. But the mission Bob was referring to was one night we were flying, what we did, we flew in the Gulf of Tonkin. We were on orbit 12 hours. My sole duty was to listen in to the North Vietnamese Air Force. I had to keep tabs on where the MiG-21s and the MiG-17s were, because we didn't want them going up, down the below the DMZ or threatening any of the American or Vietnamese troops, South Vietnamese troops. So I was listening in, and I heard the controller at Hanoi Zalam say, "Your target is that big bird over the Gulf of Tonkin." And I go, "Oh, God, that's us." They were coming out to shoot us down. I heard it, told the air mission supervisor, who told the pilot, who immediately took evasive action. We dove into the clouds. And let me say, are there any Navy people here? Because of the Navy, I am alive today. We had 2 Navy escorts. And I'm listening to the North Vietnamese controller say, "Do not let that F-4 get behind you." Well, he did. And he shot that MiG-21 right out of the sky. And I heard every moment of it, including the final scream. And the hours they spent looking for this North Vietnamese pilot in the Gulf of Tonkin.